It's the second biggest blowout in playoff history, the worst in the Super Bowl era, a 55-point differential. The Jags scored 38 points and subbed in their backup before Dan Marino completed his first pass. Miami had more missed tackles than yards in the first quarter. Look, it doesn't matter how Marino played in the final few years of his career. He was going down as one of the best to ever do it, and the best pure passer regardless. And I'm not blaming this loss solely on Marino, but this has to be the worst way to end a career. Retiring with this record, the worst blowout in the Super Bowl era, is not something anybody really wants. That's not a knock on Marino. This game doesn't even register when discussing his legacy, and he was well past his prime. He couldn't move around in the pocket anymore, and his legs had basically turned into cement blocks. But I would like to make a case for leaving while on top. We humans have a tendency to hold on to things for too long. We struggle to let go and accept change. Seinfeld, John Elway, the Beatles, all things that ended while on top. Dan Marino, Lehman Brothers, former giants that ended their reign abruptly. Well, I suppose we don't always get that ride off into the sunset. The Dolphins got pummeled 38-3 by Denver the year prior, but they were about to make that game look competitive. Despite starting the season 7-1, the Dolphins limped into the playoffs, going 2-6 down the stretch. The year was filled with constant bickering between Jimmy Johnson and Dan Marino. Johnson wanted to bench Marino, but he knew he couldn't, as they were hopeless without him. And Marino wanted to throw more, but probably knew he was past his prime and could no longer carry the team on his back. That being said, with Dan Marino, you always have hope, even if the regular season was a struggle. To be fair, he did deal with a neck injury for part of it. He'd also show he had something left in the tank with a fourth quarter game-winning drive against the Seahawks in the wildcard round. It was a temperate 61 degrees that day in Jacksonville, but the clouds would descend over the Dolphins, as they'd be on the receiving end of the most embarrassing playoff loss in 60 years. What makes the game even worse is that it would mark a sharp decline in the team's performance. Since Marino left, they've only been to the playoffs 5 times and lost in the wildcard round on each occasion. This 62-7 blowout seemingly broke the franchise. Marino started this game with an interception. His third attempt was fumbled and returned, and that play actually feels like a good representation of the game as a whole. Going up 24-0, the Jags strip-sacked Marino and crawled at a 0.25x speed into the end zone as nobody even realized the play was live until Brackens was at the 3-yard line. That must have been the longest 16-yard run in history. In the first quarter, the Jags had 24 points and outgained the Dolphins 197 yards to -1. Yeah, the Dolphins really struggled to move the ball at all that game. Early in the second quarter, Marino finally got his first completion, but the drive ended in, well, you've probably already figured out by now, another turnover. With the Dolphins touchdown in the final seconds of the first half, Marino would sprint faster than Usain Bolt into the locker room, down 41-7. Do I smell a comeback? No. After being reminded that Houston blew a 35-3 lead against Buffalo, the Jags continued to embarrass the Dolphins. They piled up the pressure on Marino with non-stop blitzing, forcing quick and poor decisions. The Dolphins defense wasn't too helpful. They allowed an NFL playoff record 90-yard touchdown run, and 5 of the Jags' 8 touchdowns were 20 yards or more. And this play on 3rd and 14, where 3 Dolphins players just missed tackles as Taylor waltzes in for a 39-yard touchdown. That being said, the offense fumbled 6 times and lost 5 of those, and Marino threw 2 picks, so everybody's to blame. They were also playing a very talented Jags team, who had finished the season with the best record in the league at 14-2. Many, however, doubted them, citing an easy schedule, but they did the job on this fateful day. That doubt would linger though, and according to Pro Football Reference, they had the 5th easiest schedule for any NFL team between 1971 and 2017. They only played a winning team twice, the Titans, and lost both of those games, and they would again fall to the Titans the following week, 0-3 against them that year. A few minutes into the second half, Marino was finally benched, and after, he told reporters, "I've never experienced a game like this in my life. Even as a kid, I've never had a game like this." I would hope so. That would end a Hall of Fame career, and also a Hall of Shame final game, for the worst sign-off ever for one of the greatest. Instead of a John Elway type send-off, we got a 31% completion percentage, 95 yards, 2 fumbles, and 2 interceptions.